All right, welcome to yoga, yin yoga. We are going to focus on the hips today, and for this practice, you'll want a pillow, like something a little bulkier if you have it. So do take time to grab that, and then we'll get started. So you can sit on your prop if you like, or just sit on your mat directly. And we'll catch our breath. So take a moment to settle into your seat. You can either close your eyes or soften your gaze. And you're welcome to lift the shoulders up, around, and down a few times, lifting them up and lowering them down. And then letting your shoulders finally relax down your back. Let your inhale sort of open your chest or broaden you a little bit. And let the exhale release your sitting bones down to the earth. We'll repeat that again. Inhale wide into the heart. Exhale, the sitting bones relax down on the earth. One more like that on your own. And then keeping the breath moving, we'll bring our hands together at the heart. And I invite you just to take a moment to start our practice today with a bit of gratitude for yourself, for showing up, gratitude for the practice, gratitude for this moment in time, this hour or so to slow down and kind of process whatever it is that might need to be processed. And we'll take a collective breath together. Inhale fully. Exhale completely. And then we'll release our hands, open the eyes. All right, so we're going to start with that bigger prop. I happen to have a bolster. You don't need a bolster. If you don't have a pillow or a bolster, you could use a yoga block, you could use a folded up blanket. But I'll show you kind of as we get into it, how you can prop yourself in various ways. So we're going to start with our pillow or our bolster to the outside of your right hip, kind of long ways. And then your left leg, you'll lift your left knee and you'll bend the knee back so the shin becomes parallel to the left edge of the room, the left wall of the room. So this is known as mermaid pose in our legs. And we're about to do mermaid on a rock, and this will be our rock. And please find a blanket and pad under your ankle or your knee if you need that. You want to be comfortable here. And so now we're going to twist away from our leg. We're going to twist to your right. And you can take your hands and kind of tent your fingers kind of on either side. So you're twisting that navel all the way around. If you don't have a prop, you could just do this. And then we'll do a little cat-cow while we're in this twist. So rounding the spine, chin to chest as you exhale. Inhale, lift the eyes, lift the tail, and exhale around. We'll do that 2 more times. And then the next time you lift your chest, we want to find length in our torso as we lay our torso down on our prop. So I like to hug my prop really snug all the way to my belly. And then stretch the heart across the room as I lower down. And you can have one cheek on your prop. Some people like to put their forehead on there. We just want to feel like we can rest here. So if you have either a smaller prop or no prop would mean you could just prop yourself on your forearms and just hang out. If you have something smaller like a block or a folded blanket, that could go under your ribs instead, and maybe stack your hands under your forehead. We're going to be here to stay for a little bit. As you're settling in, now if at any point your bent knees, one or both, feel a little like there's a hitch in your giddy up, You know, like there's a little catch in your knee joint. You can straighten either knee at any time. You can also shift both legs a little bit back in space. That'll give you more of a hip stretch or thigh stretch. You can also readjust your arms, maybe bend your elbows a little bit more or widen the arms. You can play around with that. We're just going to be here focusing on breathing into the back of the lungs today. So feeling that expansion at the back of the heart as you inhale. And feeling your bones rest on the earth as you exhale. And continue to find that ebb and flow that's true to you. And this is your time to rest and allow yourself to open back up what might have been closed off from the daily grind. We'll be here for about 10 more breaths. You're welcome to focus each breath on the back of the heart, developing that breath. Take a final breath here. Inhale fully. Exhale, let it all go. Then you can crawl your hands in towards your chest and slowly make your way up. And we'll take a moment and release the legs long before we do it again on the other side. So you can take your hands back and extend both legs long, maybe shake out the legs. And then we'll move our prop around to the other side. So we'll take our bolster over to the second side. You're going to sit, just starting with that crisscross seat, bringing your bolster to the outer left hip, and then your right leg, you can lift it up and bend it back so that shin becomes parallel to the right wall in your room. And then we'll turn, so the hips and the legs are really heavy, but from the waist up, you're going to twist towards your prop, twist towards your left. Come up high on your fingertips, feel your belly wrapping around to the left. And then you can start some cat-cow movement with your spine, rounding the spine as you exhale. Inhale, lifting the heart, lifting the chest. Do that a few more rounds here. The next time you stretch your heart out, stay with that feeling of length, and then start to crawl your hands away from you. Start to lay your torso flat on the mat. You can have one cheek on your prop, or maybe have your hands under your head like a pillow, or anything you want to do with your arms, as long as the shoulders are completely relaxed. More often than not, bending the elbows and resting your arms alongside you on the floor might be the path of least resistance. You can also take both legs and kind of angle them back behind you in space. Get a little more opening in that outer right hip, quad. As we rest here, sometimes the mind can start to wander, and I invite you to engage the mind by noticing how to develop your breath. Notice where in your body as you inhale, there might be a bit of resistance. Can you notice the resistance and not trying to change it or fix it? Can you simply encourage a bit more space in those areas of resistance? Focusing a little more wiggle room, gradually with each inhale. We'll be here for about 10 more breaths. I invite you to use this last few moments to go a little deeper into surrendering here in the shape. We'll take one final breath here, inhaling fully. And as you exhale, just gently walking your hands in, slowly pressing yourself up, taking your time. You can unwind your legs as you like, maybe hang back on your hands and take this time just to pause and notice the blood recirculating throughout your low body. All right, we're gonna get deeper. We're gonna get into our hips in a deep way, and you can use your bigger prop that we've already been using if you like. We are gonna go right away into pigeon today. So this one will require you to kneel to set up, and I would recommend kneeling on a blanket or a pillow if you're on a hard surface. If you'd rather lie down today for recline pigeon, I'll show you recline pigeon first. You're gonna lie flat on your back, cross your right ankle over your left thigh, and then interlace the fingers behind that left thigh. And you can always put a pillow behind your head as you stay here. Otherwise, we're going to go, the deeper expression will be hands and knees for pigeon. You will slide, make sure you have a prop in front of you, possibly to lay your torso on. You'll slide your right knee behind your right wrist, and then slide that right foot all the way across to the left, and you can start to tuck those back toes under and crawl that leg back away from you. So you want to find as much length in your left leg as you can, and then you'll untuck your toes. And then from here, finding a prop, any size prop will do. You could, if it's smaller, it could go under your ribs or your forehead. If it's larger, your torso can lay over it. So we're going to go for that length, kind of lifting up through the spine and then stretching across your prop. You can lay one cheek on the mat or forehead. And just as we did mermaid on a rock, the arms can be wherever feels like the shoulders can relax. So you might bend your elbows alongside your body. And we'll be here for a few moments. You can always place an additional prop under your right sitting bone if that takes some of the discomfort or pressure out of the pose for you. So with a block, I'll show you. You'll just lift up your right sitting bone and just kind of scoot it underneath. And again, you can search for anything that feels like resistance in your body. So it could feel like there's a lack of movement or energy, or it kind of feels like your breath can't really go there. There's a density to it. That's kind of what I mean by that restrictive quality, resistance. And then being curious about where you're finding resistance, imagine you could breathe into that, around that area, like you're focusing a little bit more movement or wiggle room there. So one that's common is the jaw, also the shoulders, and the right glutes. How can those areas soften a little bit more? We'll actually stay in this pose for a moment and you'll press up a little bit your torso. So you'll elevate, you'll come up onto your hands. Maybe you can take a hand or an elbow to your existing prop. And then what we're going to do is explore the quad of the back leg. So see if it's possible to bend your back knee and kind of kick your heel towards your glute. Now, this might be the pose. We're only going to be here for a little bit. So you might just stay here. Or you might be able to reach back with one arm, maybe grab your foot, maybe pull your foot towards your glute. We'll just be here for 3 more breaths. So whatever version works for you. And then you'll release. Now we're getting really fancy with transitions today because we're going to turn this into a new stretch. So if you've been lying down for reclined pigeon, you are going to come up to seated now. And we're all going to come up to seated. For those of us who have been in pigeon, you're going to keep your right knee bent. You're going to lean to your right sitting bone, and you're going to sweep your left leg all the way across. You're going to cross your left bent knee on top of your right bent knee. So we're in a new pose. And then oftentimes that left sit bone is just kind of up in the air. We want to root our left sit bone down. So you might kind of wiggle your bottom foot forward, slide your hips over to the left a little bit. So it feels like both of your sitting bones are now rooted on the floor. Now, what could happen here is you could feel really tight here and it feels like you can't sit up tall. So in that case, you want to find a prop and situate your sit bones on that prop. That'll elevate you a little bit off the floor. It'll be easier to sit tall. You want to find that height. And I'll face you. All right, so we're here. And this is the next pose. So you're welcome to stay tall and lifted. You can press into the floor, feel the sides of your body get long. You can, of course, at any time here, start to fold over your legs. And I'll leave that up to you. We want to find just that right amount of challenge where it feels like something's releasing, but we can still maintain a relaxed breath. You especially notice your jaw, notice your shoulders and neck. Sometimes they like to take on some of the intense sensation. Can you let that just remain in your hips? Let your upper body be soft. If you're feeling pain in either knee, you can straighten a knee as needed. I also will recommend one modification I forgot to mention. Your bottom leg could just be straight the whole time as you fold. So that's another option if that feels better for your knees today. Otherwise, you're going to be here for 10 more breaths. we'll slowly make our way up. That was a lot we did in a row on just one kind of side of the body. So I recommend lying all the way flat on your back, almost like a mini Shavasana before we take that on the other side. So take that moment just to pause. We're going to be in Shavasana for about 10 breaths. So there's really nothing to do other than rest and just receive the support of the ground, the support of your breath. All right, transitioning, you can bend your knees and take the moment to hug them into your body and rock your low back across the mat, letting your knees move right and left, right and left. And then if you took reclined pigeon on the first side, you'll take it on the second side. You'll stay lying down, cross your left ankle on top of your right thigh, interlace the fingers behind the right thigh. You'll stay here. If you're joining me for full pigeon, you're going to roll to the side and we'll make our way back up to seated, or sorry, hands and knees. And then find your prop if you're using one, have it right in front of you. And then we'll take our left knee behind the left wrist. Left foot swings across your mat. And then start to crawl your right leg back, like you're growing that right leg a bit longer. And so as far back as it'll go, and then untuck your toes. And then finding your prop, you'll put it right in front of you for support. Find that length we've been finding today. Stretching your heart forward as you climb across the room with your hands, and then settle in. You can always stick an additional prop under your left sitting bone. I'm using a block as an example, but it could be any kind of prop. And then we'll be here for quite a few minutes. So do get comfortable. Take the time to use that extra prop if you need. Reorganize the shoulders. We'll be here for a few more breaths. If you want to take that version of the quad stretch we did on the first side, you can take it now. So I recommend coming up at least onto your hands, maybe walk your hands in. And then see what happens if you bend your back knee and press your heel back towards your glute. And quite often the two legs will feel a little different here. So this may or may not be your tighter side. You're welcome to stay here if you want to reach back with either hand, really. You can reach back and grab your foot and pull it towards you. You can. If that doesn't feel like that's working, just stay in this kind of bent knee version of pigeon. We'll be here for about 8 more breaths. Take a full breath in. And as you exhale, we'll come out of it. Oh my goodness. Okay, now we're morphing it into a new stretch altogether. So if you've been lying down, go ahead and come and sit up. We're all going to shift to our left sitting bone. Left knee is bent. And then you'll sweep your right leg all the way around. And you'll cross your right bent leg over your left bent leg. So we're back in that shoelace pose is what it's called. You can also, the modification of shoelace pose is to extend your bottom leg straight, keep your top knee bent. So it's up to you. I'm going to turn and face you now. Check out this side. So you might need to crop your sitting bones to help you sit up taller. You might need to readjust your bottom foot a little bit more forward and then slide your hips over to your left a little bit or right a little bit. And then we'll stay here for a few moments. We'll be here for 10 more breaths. So maybe experiment if you want to fold in a little deeper for these final moments here. All right, we'll slowly come out of this pose. Oh my goodness, we are going to revisit that little mini Shavasana one more time. So you can use your hands as helpers to unwind your legs. We are going to lie down again and take this moment of pause, checking in, feeling the internal experience, feeling what is moving through you. Feeling what is movement, right? Feeling what is flow. So I guess the opposite of resistance, noticing that movement. Then we'll stay lying on our back and you'll bend your knees, plant the feet. We're going to offset our hips so they'll no longer be centered. So let's push into the feet, lift the hips. Slide the hips over to the left side of the mat, set them down. Cross your left leg over your right leg if you're sitting and drinking coffee. First, we want to gather the legs into the chest and then rotate the legs to the right, coming into a spinal twist. So you can let your legs just rest on the floor to your right as you open the arms wide. If this feels like a lot, this is a very deep twist called twisted rope. You're welcome to stick that pillow or that bigger prop under your knees. And the benefit of that is it's easier to ground your left shoulder blade. It takes some of the intensity out of the spinal twist. Because as we know, as we stay in this pose, it will start to grow more intense. So whatever version you need today, listen to your wisdom of how you feel best suited here. And we'll be here for a little bit. To come out of this twist, you'll first unwind your legs if they're still crossed. And then you'll draw your knees into your chest as you turn onto your back, and we'll pause in the center. Just take a moment here to regroup. And we'll do the other side. So just like before, you'll bridge your hips up in the air. This time, slide your hips over to the right side of the mat, set them down. Cross your right leg over your left. And then gather your knees into your chest first, and then rotate them to the left. Oops, I'm just gonna move some stuff around. I have a yoga block in the way. And you're welcome, of course, as always, to prop under your knees to take some of the intensity out of this pose. Also, a prop behind the head can feel really nice here. We'll stay here for a little bit. We'll gently uncoil the legs and return to the back, and just take this opportunity to pause and recenter your hips. You can either keep your knees bent or stretch your legs long. We'll just let this moment happen where we kind of witness what is unfurling inside of us or what is shifting. Where is there movement? Once you notice the movement, then you can gather the knees into the chest. And, the movement feeling is subtle. This is subtle energy, or, circulation, blood flow, that kind of thing. We're gonna do legs up the wall next. Now, there's two ways to do it. If you have a wall, that's one way. If you don't have a wall, you'll use a prop. So I'll show you both ways. So the first way is if you could just stay on your mat and not even bother with the wall. And you could take that bulkier pillow, that bulkier prop we've been working with today. You can bridge your hips up. And the beauty of a bigger prop here is your hips lift higher off the floor. And therefore it makes it pretty effortless to have the legs up in the air, just kind of floating up in space. So that's one way to do a version of legs up the wall. Now, the other way is to use the wall. So there's a bit of an art to get into legs up the wall. You first want to sit up, and then you want to bring yourself, the side of your body as close to the wall as you can. Now this is an interesting wall because I have like a skinny piece of a wall and then I have windows. So I want my feet on the skinny piece of the wall. So that means I'm gonna sit in front of that place where I want my legs to end up. I'm gonna bring my outer hip right against that wall. And then when you lie back, you'll kind of do a little turn of your body to face the wall. And then you're directly against the wall. We want to get as close as we can get. Glutes, heels, touching the wall. We want to keep our knees soft so the legs don't lock themselves out. We don't want to lock out our joints here in this pose. We want to keep a softness. You can stick whatever prop you like under your head. And we'll be here for a few minutes. So please settle in. Now you're welcome to stay in legs up the wall. We can do a modification of butterfly here. You can also do that lying in the middle of the room with the prop under your hips. The modification will look the same. You're going to slide your legs down the wall, bend the knees, open them wide. The soles of the feet will come together. So if you're against a wall, your feet are going to stay on the wall. If you're on your mat, the outer edges of your feet are going to lower to the mat. We'll be here for a few minutes. Take one more breath here. And then as you exhale, you can gather your knees together like you're closing the pages of a book. If you're against the wall, you'll roll to the side and pause in the fetal position. If you're in the middle of the room, you can bridge your hips off your prop, remove your prop, and then just lie flat on your back. We are all going to end up flat on our back regardless. We're going to end in Shavasana. That being said, if you want to continue doing legs up the wall, that could be in place of Shavasana today. But we'll kind of migrate over to our mats and settle in Shavasana. We'll start to bring ourselves back into this room, back into your body from wherever you drifted. Let yourself move your fingers and toes, wrists and ankles in a way that feels like you're gently waking up again, letting it be gradual, natural. Maybe take that full body stretch, yawning. Oh, it feels good. And then eventually you'll make your way up to a seat. And we'll circle back with this idea of gratitude. Just gratitude for ourselves, showing up for ourselves, making time and space to slow down, be with ourselves in our body. And I find more often than not, when you give yourself that gift, of slowing down and taking care of yourself, so you give others permission to do so as well. We'll bring our hands together at our heart and bow the thinking mind to the caring heart. Thank you so much. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Thank you.